The Fed is under siege, and today we'll break it down for you guys. Let's just jump right into what Kobeisi broke over the weekend. Fed Chair Powell responded to a federal prosecutor opening a criminal investigation into him. And of course, this is all around the charges as a consequence of him talking to Congress about the cost that it was taking to do some improvements over at the Fed building. So the chair came out with a 2-minute response video. This is extremely rare for something like this, one, to happen on the weekend, and two, for us to see this quick response going into this. I want to go into a clip that goes through the recap over the weekend. Take a look.
So these subpoenas were probably filed on Friday. The Fed could have easily just gone, you know what, we'll park this, we'll keep this under wraps, we're not going to tell anybody about it. No, that's not what they did. Sunday night bombshell, Powell's out, he's delivered this video message, he's come out swinging. This is an angry Fed chair. You can see that he is determined to make sure that he is going to be up for the fight. He is clearly worried that the Fed independence is at risk. His term is going to come to an end. He can stay on the board until 2028, I think. That would make it, that would obviously make it harder for the Trump administration to influence policy on the FOMC.
Chairman Powell is the worst Fed chair since Arthur Burns, and he is the poster child for politicizing the Fed. The only reason why he's still there is because he papered over the fiscal irresponsibility of Joe Biden.
Jerome Powell to be the next chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Is there anything in it that is suggestive that he was not truthful?
President Trump overnight said he knew nothing about the Justice Department's investigation into the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, but just 2 weeks ago, he said the opposite.
To prove a lying charge, you don't just have to have a misstatement or a contradiction in testimony. You have to have evidence that someone acted with corrupt intent, that they meant to lie.
And the danger here for the Department of Justice is they investigate here and they end up coming up empty. That could cause them two problems. One, public embarrassment. That's the risk here, is that they'll end up bringing a case that they can't actually, get a conviction on.
All right, so a couple of things to break down within that. One is, I first do agree that the Fed should stay independent, always should be independent. I don't necessarily think there should be a Fed, but an independent Fed, should we have one, is the case in point here. And I don't necessarily agree that if they come up empty, they should always investigate any kind of issues that is skirting the line. Whether it was a mistake by Powell or an inaccuracy, that could easily be proved, and then sure, he's off the case. But the real issue is this being politically charged? I think that's the real question. Is it a tit-for-tat type situation between the Trump administration and what Chair Powell has been doing in this administration going forward? The question now, is he out of the Fed board completely? Here's a Polymarket, kind of breaks it down right now. It's a 52% chance, but it was up as high on January 11th as, or actually, what was the date on this? January 11th, yeah. It was up as high as 73%. Response came in, so it started dropping. Likelihood is that Chair Powell may still be on the Fed board through his tenure of 2028. Let me know in the comments if you think he should stick around. Is this a situation where Trump will just force him out through just a barrage of these kind of tactics? This is a very big deal going forward. One so much so that there is a lot of pundits that are starting to respond to this. Here's Anthony Sacaramucci talking about Trump's tactics. Take a look.
Well, listen, I've listened to the commentary this morning, but I'm going to take a contrarian view. I think the president has already won this. His messaging is very clear. I'm going to be the next Fed chair. That's okay with the markets. We are listening to punditry say that the markets want Fed independence, but the market's not telling you that.
Well, he was getting his rate cuts. You're arguing is he just wanted a faster pace? He just wants to get to one quicker than we might have otherwise?
Well, yes, I think it's a combination of things. I think if you send out this message that there's a potential indictment coming for the Fed chair, it's a way to scapegoat Jerome Powell as it relates to affordability, and it's a way to also put pressure on his successor, whoever that may be, that you're going to play by my rules, and my rules are very different from any of the rules up until now. I think that's the real message.
All right, so interesting take by Anthony there, because if that is the move that President Trump is trying to make, and the market hasn't responded that way, to Anthony Scaramucci's point, is concerning a little bit in terms of how this plays. And I think he is right in the sense that it pretty much puts out a big message to the next Fed chair. It also puts out a big message to the world of how the Fed is going to be operating here, the U.S. central bank going forward. And of course, if Trump is in control of the Fed, that changes things very quick in the market. I don't know how this plays out, guys, but it's going to be very, very important to keep an eye on this. Now, the real question is how does Powell fare within this? This is a clip that kind of talks a little bit about the popularity of Powell, because the narrative is going to be very important as he starts to go against these charges. Take a look.
How important do the American people think that is?
They think it's incredibly important that the Fed acts independently of Donald Trump, and they think it's best for the economy. We're talking about more than 2/3 of adults, 68%, 91% of Democrats, 75% of independents, and even 41%, 2/5 of Trump's base thinks it's important that the Fed acts independently of Trump for the best of the economy. So when you get 41% of Republicans and 91% of Democrats agreeing on something with 75% of independents, you know it is a popular position. Donald Trump is losing the political fight to Jerome Powell. I mean, you could just see it right here. Net approval rating per Gallup in December. Trump comes in at negative 23 points on the net approval rating. Way, way, way underwater. Jerome Powell, not the most popular guy in the world, but at minus 3 points, he's actually the most popular guy that Gallup polled of any of the politicians, any of the folks in government. He is far more popular than Donald Trump.
All right, so as our crypto team likes to call Papa Powell, he is the guy that kind of settles the market most of the time. And we're going to find out at the end of this month on the first FOMC meeting of the year. Most likely we're going to see a pause. I'd love to see what you guys think. Do we get a pause? Well, Goldman Sachs says they expect the Fed to deliver only 2 rate cuts this year, and that would be in June after his term and September. Each, of course, would be prior to the forecast of cuts in March and June of this year. So this is an issue. I don't necessarily agree with this. I do think we'll see more than 2 cuts, mainly because of what we're seeing on inflation, and that's only if inflation can continue its downward trend. And the slowing in the job loss numbers. That's another factor that will play into this as well. Granted, many of these jobs numbers that are coming in are being retraced back downward. I get that, but that has been the problem with a lot of our BLS data for almost ever, including Biden years and even before that in the Trump years. So how this holds out is a big deal. He is going to get a lot of backing, though. The Bank of Canada governor is behind him. I think he has a lot of friends in the central bank circles, especially at Davos and WEF, which is going to be coming up. He's going to get a chance to basically create a little bit of pressure, maybe through some of these other organizations that can help maybe defend against the Trump administration. But with all that said, Kalshi has the whole point of whether or not he'll be charged with a federal crime right now. And this is Jerome Powell, Tim Walz, Lisa Cook, or Barack Obama. And they've got Powell at the top right now at 53%. On a federal crime. Now, again, that's a Kalshi poll, but it's the point that the market is watching very closely. Fed decision still holds January 28 on a pause. You go into March, still holding very high on a pause at 67, 68%. And even into the April meeting, the pause is still holding at a 68%, 71%. Again, this will continue, I think, to push the crypto market sideways or down if we continue to see this kind of hold. Now, the real question, again, goes back to inflation. If we can see those numbers come down, we might see a little bit of a lift in the market in general, but it all really depends on what the Fed is going to do right now. And one of the points that you have to consider right here, this is Bessent warning President Trump that this investigation into Chair Powell is a mess, and it could hurt financial markets. Now, maybe Trump backs away from this. I don't know. Do you think he would back away from this? Because he's already said, I don't know much about it. He's kind of distanced himself a little bit. Maybe he is listening to Bessent when it comes to that. Last clip I want to hit on, because this is another factor that plays into this. This is Khana talking about we could have had more cuts had we not had tariffs. Take a look.
The Trump administration has crossed the Rubicon. By the way, the only reason he isn't lowering interest rates is because of Trump's irrational economic policy. It's Trump's blanket tariffs that have forced Jerome Powell's hand. He would have lowered interest rates months ago if Trump didn't jack up the price on food and rent and housing with irrational tariffs. But what Trump is doing threatens the very economic fabric of this country.
All right, so the point in summary is that we need an independent Fed. Yes. Yeah, I would love to see rates come down. I agree that I think with slowing inflation that they should. Now, Chair Powell is maybe looking at other data. I'm not necessarily privy to that, but what I am privy to is the fact that I am talking to people for the first time this year, finally in the C-suites of some of the biggest hiring companies out there, that they are slowing the job cuts, meaning they are not cutting as many jobs. They're looking at possibly adding, but not yet. That tells me that the job position might be stabilizing, and those are the two mandates by the Fed: stabilize the labor market and control inflation, both of which appear to be in play. So has the chair actually done his job, and why would he not cut rates? Think about that. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.